duty to act as acting mayor for this meeting, so I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin by reading a proclamation. This is concerning the South Peace Crime Prevention Crime Stoppers Society. Whereas Northern BC Crime Stoppers Society operates as a non-profit organization throughout northern British Columbia, and whereas each January Crime Stoppers programs around the world celebrate Crime Stoppers Month to highlight their successes. And whereas criminal activities such as drugs, human trafficking, physical violence, property theft, organized crime, money laundering, and fraud undermine the health and economic vibrancy of communities across northern British Columbia, and whereas concerned citizens throughout northern British Columbia provided tips in 2021 to provide information to law enforcement to prevent, solve, and reduce crime in our communities, and whereas the City of Dawson Creek wishes to recognize the positive contribution of Northern BC Crime Stoppers to the City of Dawson Creek. Now, therefore, I do proclaim that January 2022 shall be known as Crime Stoppers Month in Dawson Creek. So I'm sure we all appreciate the work of the volunteers, and I remember when Councillor Earl and I was at a community meeting around policing, how important it was considered to be, and so it's a very important ingredient in helping our community be a safe place for everyone. Are there any late items? New councillor business, that is merely an item 4.1 is a notice. Is there any action required, Madam Corporate Officer?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Dober may wish to speak to it.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to it? Sure. Hey. Got to find you on the screen here.
Thank you. Yeah, just after I put the notice of motion, I did a bit more research on it and talked to a few more people. So I just felt like the policy was good. So and my concerns were kind of answered. So I just decided to withdraw it. So.
Thank you. Item. Okay, where are you? Yes. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question through to staff, and potentially, depending on the response, I may give a notice of motion. I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it, number one, correct that we only sell transit passes at City Hall? And number two, I mean, it's just, if that's the case, it struck me as very curious. Every place I've ever lived in that I took transit, you could pretty much buy bus passes wherever lottery tickets were sold. So, and I'm not sure if that's part of, I know with our contract with BC Transit, their responsibility is the marketing piece as well as the administration and operations. So I'm not sure if finding additional points of sale would fall under their purview as opposed to ours, but I was curious if that's accurate, and if we could maybe, if that's the case, maybe a motion or direction to reach out to them would be in order to see if they can facilitate more points of sale.
Thank you. Any comments?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, presently we sell at City Hall, is my understanding. So if we are looking to see if there's opportunity to sell them elsewhere, we can pursue that with the direction of Council. And we would look at that, speak with BC Transit to see what the possibility is, how it's dealt with in other areas, and bring something back for Council's consideration if that's your wish.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if we need a motion to do that. I was curious, is it our responsibility as the city, or is that contained under BC Transit's obligation in the contract? Are we aware of that?
Those are the issues we will check into. I'm not sure we need a motion. I certainly hear loud and clear just council's request for information based on this. I can get that, bring something to the next meeting, at which point you can give direction based on the information we provide.
All right, then at this time, I would provide a notice of motion to council that 2 weeks hence I'll bring forth a motion to that effect.
Where are you?
I'm good.
Oh,
I
you're
get
good.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right.
Your worship, Mr. Chair, and through you too, Councillor. I believe a motion at this point or a notice wouldn't be necessary. I can provide the information and then a motion can be put forward based on the information we provide versus a notice. I think it's very clear council is interested in that information and I will get it and provide it.
All right, I was just trying to color within the lines. Don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other new council business before I skip on? Hearing none, can we have a motion to adopt the minutes of December the 20th, 21? Councillor Kempf, Councillor Wilbur, all in favour? Carried.
Excuse
Any-
me,
Yes?
through you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, thank you, voting. Okay. Voting has not started.
Says about to start, there we go. Oh, now it's been paused.
Pause.
Okay.
Now it's going.
We only have 3 people voting so far.
I voted.
I voted.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have all 6 in favor.
Okay,
We'll
thank
proceed
you.
with that.
Thank you for the reminder. And now that will disappear from my screen.
If you can press the end button, that's done.
Okay, thank you. No business arising? Correspondence. We have a letter from Sue Kenny, General Manager, Community Futures, Peace Liard, December 21st, 2021. Read Community Futures request for a letter of support. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Give me 1 sec. My computer's taking a second here. I move that we provide the requested letter of support for the funding application they're submitting to the Province of British Columbia Community Workforce Response Grant Program.
Seconder, Councillor Wilbur. Any discussion? Voting is open. All votes are in. All in favour? Thank you. Carried then. So the next item, 7.2, a letter from Curtis York Trucking, December the 28th, 2021, read Dawson Creek water costs. So there's a letter from Curtis York. What's the pleasure of council? Councillor Dober. What's happening here? So, Councillor Dober, it's green.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'll make a motion or move that we accept this letter and move the rates to $450 for the calendar year of 2022 for Curtis York Trucking. If seconded, I'll explain.
Councillor Javarkov, seconds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion then, Councillor Dober.
It's going to turn me back on.
Yeah. Okay, where are you? There you are. Should be on. I've hit you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. So there was I did a bit of research on this, and the reason why I think it's fair is there's a couple. One, obviously, this whole area is struggling economically right now, and I know they are as well. But the other is that our rate that goes out is $4 per cube and $5.50 to commercial. And Curtis has installed all his own equipment down there, and he also pays a $1,200 monthly fee to the city for having that equipment. And I can't remember what the fee's called, but so I just think it's fair and not for any other reason besides that it's. He's kind of has a one-off thing with the system completely set up at his shop, and he paid for that whole expense. So I think to continue this through to 2022 and give some of these local businesses a bit of a fighting chance is why I made the motion. So.
Thank you. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple things is first in Councillor Dober's motion, he specified that the rate would be changed specifically for Curtis York Trucking, which to the best of my knowledge, we can't do for an individual business. What we do for one, we have to do for all. So I'm not sure if that was his intention in making the motion or we need to provide an amendment.
Okay.
All right, through you, Mr. Chair, yes, this request came a year ago as well, of which council agreed to, but as a result, it was posted at $4.50, I believe is the number for all, versus one. That way you avoid assistance direct to one business versus the others that use the commercial water. So if the motion was to be interpreted, it would be that we keep the rate at $4.50 for the year 2022 for those that use it, I believe is how, and I would look to last year if we have that motion, but I believe it was all people purchasing commercial at that rate.
Okay, thank you. Do you have that motion, Brenda?
Can I speak while she's looking at that?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess one thing is having. So is there a rule that if you change it for one, you have to change it for all? Because in this instance, he's installed all his own equipment, so there's a less of a cost to the city than somebody going to one of our distribution places, I would assume.
Yeah, what it is you cannot be seen as assisting one business. So the other is based on the size of service he has going into a shop so that he can provide it right there. Everybody would be eligible to do that as well, but that cost is outside. It's a convenience cost, I would suggest, for the operator. He's able to do it there, load at his facility versus having to use the other facilities. But I believe this was looked at a year ago prior to the motion being adopted, and it was the $4.50 would have to apply to all.
Mm.
So
is there not?
Just one thing with that is it's really the community charter requires that.
Oh yeah,
it's
this
not
is
just
not
a
our
city.
rule.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yes.
a community charter.
Okay, thank you. Well, in that case, I'll make an amendment to my motion that I'll keep the commercial water rate at $4.50 for the 2022 year.
Is that okay with the seconder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Any further discussion?
Oh, Brenda wanted.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The motion last year was just that the request for an extension through the 2021 calendar year of $4.50 per cubic meter be approved.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Earl.
So I More or less, I'm fine with the motion, but I do have a question, just in the desire to do my due diligence, is what was the scheduled water rate supposed to be last year, and what was the difference in revenue to taxpayers as a result of granting that extension?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will have to get that information. I believe it is $5.50 was the original rate that it was supposed to be. Council made a determination to lower it to $4.50 at the request of Mr. York, which applied across the board. I do not have the figure in front of me as to the actual impact of the financial document. I can get that for yourselves, though. I'll dig that up.
Sure, thank you.
Councillor Dober. What's going on? When I hit you, it seems to... There, should be fine.
Is the water utility, is that not part of the utilities commission, like where it doesn't affect the taxpayers, like what stays in the water and sewer gets spent there?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The water utility is a self-sustaining utility. This is not an issue on the tax rates as you look at the city. This is an issue of water and sewer are referred to as self-liquidating utilities.
Yeah.
They fund themselves and also raise extra money for the capital expenditures necessary to keep the systems working.
To the systems.
Yeah.
So to Councillor Earl's comment, there wouldn't be a cost to the taxpayers directly because it's self-sufficient?
Not to the taxpayers per se, but to the amount of water. If you sold, 100,000 cubes, then you would have $100,000 difference based on, I'm using that in very simple terms. We have a dollar reduction, so, but it is within the water utility.
And we still have like an abundance of water too, right? Like with our reserves, like we're still...
Our
have
water
years' worth.
supply and our water utility is in very, very, very good shape.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Okay, can we put this to the vote then? Thank you. That was quick. All were in favour. Item 7.3, letter from Tyra Henderson, Corporate Officer, Peace River Regional District, January the 4th, 2022, Re-Economic Development Model, Peace River Regional District. I just want to comment on this one. I don't know about fellow councillors, but I believe that the person who can only really speak with a great deal of knowledge about this topic is the mayor. And I wonder if a motion to defer discussion of this to the next council meeting would be acceptable, if somebody would like to make that motion. Councillor Kempf, Councillor Wilbur. Any discussion? I'm going to call the vote then. I wonder what's happening. Okay, item 8.1, report 22-002 from the project manager, re 2022 Capital Works PVC pipe pre-purchase. Councillor Dober.
I'll move that report number 22-002 from the Capital Project Manager's reason 2022 Capital Works PVC pipe pre-purchase be received. Further that council directs staff to develop and advertise a request for quotation for PVC pipe, water valve, and hydrant materials for the 2022 capital projects.
Seconder, Councillor Kempf. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could just update council. The reason for this request coming is the supply chain issues that we're seeing out there. We have been notified that the delivery of PVC pipe for our infrastructure works this coming summer could be up to 5 to 6 months out. So if we waited until final approval of the budget, which is in March, we would lose our window to complete the projects, so we're getting an early jump on it. And following this motion, based on the vote, I would also like just a moment to update you on the other projects to see if we could have a discussion on that as well.
Okay. Any other comments? Let's put this to the vote then. Okay. So, bylaw, you want to comment further,
Just
sorry.
If
go
I
ahead.
could. So although this has come up for our public works and the work that is being done, late last week I was meeting with our facilities manager as well as Shantae, and we are struggling with the same supply chain problems for our facility upgrades this year, the ones that are in the capital that you have looked at. What I would be looking for is the same ability to go out and order what is necessary based on those capital projects so that we do not run into supply chain issues as could be a real possibility. Now, that is good if I have not heard changes to the capital program put forward, so we would move forward with the capital program as presented and order the necessary parts and equipment for any building upgrades or what's needed. I would be looking for that from yourselves today if we could, to begin that process of getting the equipment ordered.
Councillor Dober.
Thank you. Just a question through you to Blair. I know when we were going through the budgets on the capital projects, and when Flavia was here, we talked about in our time frame up here where we have time to get projects done that we're biting off more than we can chew. So is there, have we looked at that, and like if we make a motion to do that, like are those stuffs, or is it only going to be for things that we can commit to this year and get done?
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have met and had that discussion. It's carry forward projects that were a concern that we spoke about. The capital program with the carry forward as well as the new projects presented. There is full understanding that those will be completed all in 2022. So that would be prevent the carry forward has been the discussion we've been working on. All right.
And does that include like the tennis courts and the pickleball courts as well?
Yes, yes it does. That is all in, and of course there is grant applications in as well on that one.
I can make a...
Councillor Earl first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just question through to staff. In the event we have some unanticipated delays in this year's capital projects, do we have the storage space to keep this stuff for a year? And the reason I'm asking is I think someone brought it up that there's been some catastrophic flooding in the southern parts of BC, which has completely upended a lot of their infrastructure, and that there's likely going to be a great deal of work in repairing that. And what that will do for us is drive up the cost of labor and potentially increase the cost of some of these budgets beyond what we anticipate them costing. So in the event, so that's just one example, there could be some more unforeseen ones, but in the event that some of these projects get pushed for a year, do we have the storage capacity to keep this material in good condition?
All right. Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have had that discussion, the Public Works. The largest items, obviously, I believe, being the PVC pipe and the pipe work, yes, out at the Public Works yard. As far as our buildings, we would, if we needed additional space, we will make it happen, but it would be... I would rather err on the side of having the equipment necessary than having an order go sideways on us and not being able to get it done once we've tendered. So I think we're in good shape that way as far as storage.
So I think we need a motion to authorize your contemplated action, right? So do you mind just restating so to help someone who could may be willing to make the motion? So
All right.
is it just for the carry forward projects?
No.
It's for carry forward projects plus other items in our capital budget?
For the 2022 capital year,
Yeah.
as well as carry forward, we will have received that. That was last year's work. So
Yeah, that's true.
what the motion would entail is that council approve administration moving forward with ordering the necessary equipment needed to accomplish the 2022 capital budget.
Okay. Councillor Jivakov, hold on. For some reason, it does, that's right, okay.
So I'll make that motion that that council approves the administration to go ahead and purchase the materials that we need for these 2022 capital projects so that we don't run into that supply issue.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Wilbur? This, to Councillor Jivakov.
So the supply issue obviously is a concern, and if we are unable to get materials, or if the successful bidders are unable to get materials in time, and we have experienced that at the ski hill again. We had a project that was set up last June. Materials were not available. Actually, they're just arriving this month, and so it set the whole project back. And to prevent that from happening with the city, I think this is a smart move.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to call the vote, which has disappeared on my screen.
You broke it, Charlie, we're done.
Yeah, I broke the gadget. Okay. Voting is open.
All have voted in favor.
Okay. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm wondering if we could have a slight recess. Never mind, we have it resolved.
The recess was quite quick, wasn't
Very
it?
good, yes, we're so efficient.
Okay, let's move on to our bylaws then. Item 9.1, Land Sales Bylaw, for Chamberlain Park Encroachments-Huber, number 4514-2021, for consideration of adoption. Councillor Jivakov?
I'll move adoption.
Seconder, Councillor Wilbur. Any discussion? Let's call the vote.
We just have 5 votes at the moment.
Sorry.
Paul and I'll start voting for you.
Okay.
Stop the vote.
I'm just stop the vote. 6 people have voted. All in favour? Well, we'll skip the mayor's business for now, and the Chief Administrative Officer operational update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update. I think it's everybody is aware of the significant snowfall we have had. It has been an interesting winter with the 2 or 3 weeks of constant cold, along with snow during that cold weather, which is unusual, and then the significant snowfall we had. I believe our crews have done an incredible job in getting what they can opened up, and today we will have, although on most occasions we don't use extra equipment with this snowfall and the warm weather coming, we made the determination yesterday that we would bring in an additional 2 graders and 2 loaders to get things cleaned up, so when the melt happens we don't end up with blocks of ice on all the roads. So a huge thank you goes out to our crews for this. Obviously, keeping the sidewalks open has been challenging as well. We're doing, I think, a very good job at that, but thank you to the people that have dared to walk on occasion just prior to us being out there. But again, I think overall the city's done a very incredible job of keeping the roads clear. Doesn't mean there isn't challenges out there by any means, but we live in the north, and our crew's doing an incredible job for us. So that would be it. I'd answer any questions if there are any with regard to snow removal, but it continues on.
Okay, did you wish to make any comments about the Calvin Crook Centre?
You're Mr. Chair. So we've had our Calvin Crook Centre is down, I believe, as of today, unless they're back up and operating. They had a frozen pipe, a sewer backup occurred, and we have been in there working on it, and the contractor is there today. I have some other issues we could discuss, but probably at an in-camera meeting would be more appropriate. But the update is that they are getting it open as quickly as possible. The daycare, obviously a very important part for the families that utilize that, but again, they are working on it right now. So.
And that happened Tuesday evening or Tuesday afternoon, or?
Go ahead, Shante.
You're not on my screen here. Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Through your chair and council, it started on Tuesday, but where the backup was on Wednesday morning when they called.
Okay, thank you. So shall we move on then? Any other questions about to Blair there? If not, let's look at, so we have a diary item, permissive tax exemption policy review, February 2022. Consent calendar. Items to be received, items previously released from previous closed minutes. There was report number 22-004. Can we have a motion, please, to... No one want to make a motion? Councillor Wilbur? Where? Not showing me. Oh, there you are.
There
Sorry.
I am.
At the very bottom.
I don't actually need the mic, but you all know that, so I'm just being polite. I will move the recommendation that items previously released from June 14th and June 28th in the closed meetings be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kempf. Voting is open.
All votes are in.
Thank you. Strategic priorities. 2021 strategic priorities are unchanged.
Unchanged.
So obviously we need to think about 2022 strategic priorities.
We have had discussions on that. Airport is a key one we're working on right now, but we could do an update on strategic priorities for 2022.
Well, if I may just comment on that, when reading the reports from the regional district around the regional district policy or economic development platform, in the presentation from the consultants, of course, there was the notion around vision and stuff, and I must admit that it seemed to me that we, as a municipality, right, whilst there is a good deal of effort in support of things, economic development, whether it's the Ovintiv Centre or the airport or tourism, whatever, we needed to, we don't have what I'd say is a document that says this is our vision vis-a-vis economic development. And so I'm just wondering if this isn't an item of business that we need to pay attention, not just economic development, but strategic priorities for the 2022, some of which, of course, are some will be carryovers from 2021, but I'm just flagging that for maybe discussion between yourself and the mayor. That I don't know how other councillors feel about that.
Mr. Chair, I think just to comment on that, presently our approach on economic development is our mayor is the lead economic development officer, along with being the mayor. Council has dealt with that for a number of years that way. I think that if there is a wish to have a discussion on it, it may be worthwhile at council as a whole body to have that discussion when the mayor is able and back at the next meeting possibly, and engage in that discussion as to what we would like to see pursued under economic development for 2022. I know the mayor's always into every opportunity. He does that on behalf of council, but if there's some strategic direction for economic development, I think that would be very important to have that discussion as a body here, as the council.
Yeah, in no way am I, disputing what has been done. But one of the questions that was in there that begged this question around, well, we should have a set of strategic priorities for 2022, which we don't have at the present time. But one of the questions was, what are our long-term plans and marketing strategy concerning economic development? And the thing that came forward to me, right, was the regional airport model, right, as one thing. But I think we need to have some coherent discussion around that. So that's how it was spawned. Okay. Okay. No comments from anybody else on that? Okay. Media questions? No. So recess to close. Yes, go ahead.
Just if I could, one thing regarding Councillor Earl, your question about the sales of bus passes. So my mistake, they aren't sold just at City Hall. I've been informed that we do sell student passes at the schools, all schools, and we also sell them at the co-op, but I just wanted to bring that forward. I'll also see what other communities do if there's a broader reach as well, but just for clarity, when I said they weren't available other than City Hall, I was mistaken. Or wrong is another way of putting that.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, the recess to close meeting, we need a resolution, but I need some guidance here because I'm going to put it that we need to talk about some contracting issues related to, let's say, the Calvin Crook Center or to emergency procedures.
Yes, if we wanted to do it during that, or I could notify you after the meeting. There's no required motion of council required under the update I'll provide, but however you would like to handle it.
Well, just so that we are being transparent in our resolution here, because it's not on the agenda, but I really think we need to have a brief discussion about some issues.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, if you would care to discuss that item, we can add that to the motion to go in camera.
Yes, would I'd like to do that, please.
We will do that.
Yes. Do I need a seconder for that?
No, we will just, the motion has not yet been made, so the motion could be made as presented, plus the addition of the item regarding KPAC.
Okay, so everybody understands. So can we have a motion to move into the meeting of council closed to the public, the items, agenda items 4.1 and 5.1, under section 90 minutes, as previously noted, agenda items 2.1, 3.1, and 9.1, section 91K, negotiations and related discussion respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and add to that discussion vis-a-vis Calvin Crook Center. So I have a motion, please. Councillor Wilbur, seconder. Councillor Kempf, all in favour, or we ought to go to the vote here? It's not letting me do it. Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is a lesson in patience.
I know. All votes are in. Good, thank you. Okay, so we have a meeting It's 9:43? Okay, shall we have a 5-minute recess?